Okay, so I have the postcard that we were working on with the standards. So I now have in my color swatches all the different colors in both RGB and CMYK. I am going to show you how to load the fonts, and the font we have here is Proxima Nova. So what you would do is go up into the Creative Cloud, where you can find it up at the top, and also if it's on launched, you can find it on your dock as well. Actually, I think the dock is out of your screen view, but you can find it on the dock as well. So I'm going to click on the Creative Cloud, and then up in the right corner is an F, and that F leads us to fonts, and then right underneath there you can browse more fonts. What it's showing us is what is already loaded, and you can also turn on and off what's been previously loaded, because it might be something that you've used for a previous project that you maybe do a couple times a year, so you don't want them on all the time, but you can quickly go and change that. So to browse fonts, you click on Browse Fonts, and you can look by a certain type of style. There's more here too, so you can add on different looks. You can also search by the name. So we were looking at Proxima, and you can see it pops up with 3 different variations. So we were using Nova, so I'm going to click on that. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is you can look at sample text. So this has the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, which uses all the letters in the alphabet. You can also pick a different language alphabet. You can pick symbols and numerals, or you can put in your own text. So if I wanted to put in New Music USA, then I can see how your font is going to look with that. Okay, so I already have Proxima loaded, but I can go and turn it off as well. I can hit this button and turn it off, and now they are not activated, and I can just activate the ones I want, or I can activate the whole bunch by clicking activate the whole family up there. So this is a great font because it's got a lot of different weights. This one is showing up pink, which generally means there's something wrong with it. And I've been having a few little problems today. Sometimes when you're running things off of the internet, you can have more challenges. So I'm going to just do the regular ones. I'm not going to load the condensed fonts. So these are all loaded. So when I go into InDesign and I go up to select some type, so I will grab this type here. And so you can see it showing Proxima Nova, and I can scroll down and go into change to Meta for a moment. So then I can go and scroll back to Proxima, and you see there are 15 variations. So you can see all of those here. So and it lists the weight, not by alphabetical, but by the weight, which is very helpful. So gradually you get from thin to much thicker. Okay. So what I want to do is show you how to create paragraph styles, which for a little simple postcard like this you wouldn't likely need, but they can really help you with more complicated documents. So I am going to show you that this P symbol and the A symbol, which are in our window over here, are paragraph and character styles. So I had previously said to access anything that isn't showing here, I'm going to get rid of these and show you how to load them so I can get rid of them, that you would go under window to find them. And you don't find them on this one, which is very rare. So, but what you would do is you would go under type. So under type, you have character styles and paragraph styles, which isn't to be confused with character and paragraph, which is what we were finding under window in character and paragraph. We want to gather the paragraph styles and character styles. So I click here, and if I expand, you can see it's paragraph styles. I am going to go back in here, open character styles. You see the little check mark lets me know that it's open. And so I can expand this here as well. And if I hover, I can group them together so that they become tabs. So there's the two of them right there. So I'm going to drag them over to my bar here. So we're going to start with paragraph styles. So if I had set this paragraph just the way I like it, so 12 is a little bit large, and I tend to like to add a little more tracking, which is a space, leading, which is a space between lines. So I've got this set at 11 over 15, and it's approximate regular. So if I go up to the hamburger and I say new paragraph style, I am going to give this a name, and I'm going to call it body text. So that's what I call the text that's in, the bulk of what you're saying is going to be in this font and this style. So then you can also create a shortcut. So if you have a extended keyboard, which I'm going to show you here, so it's got the number pad on the right side, you can create shortcuts with command keys. So if you hit Shift and 1 from the extended keyboard, that will be my command key. I'm going to go first into basic, and I'm going to turn off based on. I tend to like to not have anything selected here. It just makes it a lot cleaner and easier to manage. So I'm going to go to basic character formats, and you can see it automatically loaded what I have selected here. So I'm going to have Proximia regular, and say I decide I want it to be 10.5 instead. So I can just go in here and type a number, or I could scroll to a number. And you can also go by increments here. So again, I'm going to just type in 10.5. And then my leading, I'm going to make this 14 point. And you can make it case. You can change the case to all caps if you wanted. And position normal is just, normal text. But you can see there's other options in here that I very rarely use. Okay. So then advanced character formats would be if you want to scale and skew, which these are generally things that I don't recommend doing, and especially with your font, because you don't need to scale, meaning sort of compress your letters or expand them, because you have a font that already has each letter drawn in a narrower version if you need it. So now I'm going to go to indents and spacing. So my alignment here is going to be left. You can also set it in different ways if you want. And you can do indents, you can do a space after, and different things here. You can set up your tabs. There's lots of different things you can do. I'm going to go down here and select a color because I want to show you some ways that character styles and paragraph styles work. So I'm going to select this color, and I am going to now say OK. So now when I select this text and I hit Shift 1, which is what I set up for the command key, now you can see that it changed it to this, changed the size, and it also changed the color. I made the color different just so you could really see that it changed. So now I'm going to go back into my paragraph style. Here I'm going to open this up. I'm going to click on body text, double click to open it. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change some things. So I'm going to change the type size to be larger, and I'm going to change my color to be blue. So when I say OK, you can see it's changed the text. I'm going to go and just take this line here, and I'm going to change the color of this. I'm going to go into my swatches, and I'm going to make it this gray here, and I'm going to leave the size the same, but I'm going to change that color. Now I'm going to go into the paragraph text, and I'm going to double click on the body text, and I'm going to go in here and change it again to a different color just to illustrate how this works for you. I'm going to change it back to red. So now I say OK. So notice how this line did not change color again. And the size is all still the same. I didn't change that. The reason why it didn't change is because I manually changed it. So whenever you manually change something, if you go in and change a style in here, it won't change the parts that you manually changed, which can be really great because say you had title of a song and you had made it italic. We don't have regular italic selected here, so I'm going to just use medium italic. So if I set this as an italic and I went and I decided to change the size of my font and the color, so I'm going to change the color back to black, and I'm going to go in here to change under basic formats, I'm going to change it to 10.5 again, the way I originally liked it, and say OK. So what it did now was it changed it all, the size is 10.5, and it's made it all black, but it did not change the italics because that was overridden. So this can work to your benefit because if you've gone and set something in a type style and then you decide it needs to be smaller, it needs to be a different font, you can go and change that, but all of your italics, you're not going to have to reset them. So it can be very helpful. So you can create a new style for everything that we've got here. So we have got amplifying voices. So this is a heading. So we're going to go into paragraph styles. We're going to create a new paragraph style again. New paragraph style. This time I'm going to call it a heading. I'm going to give it a shortcut of Shift 2. I'm going to go into my basic character styles and I am going to make it, let me just make it something different so you'll see the difference. So I'm going to make it Rockwell and I'm going to make it 14 and I'm going to say OK. So now I can select this text, hit Shift 2, and it changed it to this font Rockwell. So now when something is pink, it means that it's not actually loading properly. So pink text, when it's highlighted like that, means that the font is not showing up properly. Also notice under heading, see this little plus sign here? That's also telling me that something's wrong. So if I double click in here and look at this, under heading, this Rockwell font isn't working, so I'm going to change it to, we know that we've got the our Proximia Nova, and I'm going to make it bold, say OK. So now it changed it. So this plus sign is still sitting here, and that's telling me that there is something still amiss here. So what I'm going to do is, while I have this open, I am going to select my text, and I am going to hit the Option key while I click on heading. Now you see what happened was the font wasn't actually the right font select. It was supposed to be Proximia Bold, not the extra black. So what I did in effect is when it had that plus sign, it said something was wrong, and I was able to clear it by holding down the Option key on my keyboard and selecting this. So I can go in here again, say I go and I mess with this and I make it, change those to medium. So if I select this text, it says something's wrong. So I'm going to go and select this text again. I'm going to hit Option. I'm going to click here, and it corrected it. Okay. So the reason why you use paragraph styles is because it makes it much easier to go and style a whole bunch of text. I'm going to zip out of here for a moment. So if I have another artist, and you can see I'm terrible speller. And I've got blah, blah, blah text here, just miscellaneous text. And I am going to add another artist. Paste that. Okay, so my artist text needs to be this text right here, which actually I haven't set an artist style yet, so let me go do that. So I'm going to go into paragraph styles. I'm going to create a new paragraph style. Let's call it artist. And I'm going to make it Proximia medium. I am going to give it a color, New Music Red, and say, let me go back a sec. I didn't give it a shortcut, so I'm going to use shortcut. Say OK. So now I am going to click this, hit Shift 3, hit Shift 3, hit Shift 3. So it has styled the text for each one of those. Now I want to do my body text, which was Shift 1, and this is Shift 1. So it can make it a lot easier instead of having to go and change the color and the type, the type and all that. You just hit the command keys. The other thing that makes it really great is, say you decide I don't want that red again, so I'm going to double click on artist. I'm going to change the color to blue and say OK. So, oops, I was accidentally, let me do this again. I accidentally had clicked on here, so let me unclick. I'm going to go back and change the artist. I am going to change the color, say OK, and now it globally made that change. Okay, so again, I'm going to go into body text this time. I'm going to double click. I'm going to change the color of the body text to, say I want to use the gray, say OK. And so it has changed it all to this gray color now. So if I go into my, it looks very much like the black, but if I go into my swatches, I can see, yes, that this is the color that it has changed it to. So it's great for making global changes, and it's also great for going and assigning text, label to text. So it's a really great, handy thing to have. So what you would potentially do, I'm going to zoom in here, is create body styles based on your standards here. So you have H1. So instead of calling it heading artist or heading this, you can use H1, H2, H3 as your labels. And then you see these are the sizes that the text is. And then you can see the style that's here. So it's regular, extra bold. Now, these aren't by points. These are PX, which is pixels. I tend to use points. Pixels would be used if you're using a digital format, but since you are very often going to be using Illustrator and InDesign, which are vector files, using points is what I would recommend. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful.